Legislative Day number 12 will now come to order. Please rise for a moment of silent meditation. I will now call upon Councilwoman Bevins, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Is there a motion to approve the journal for the meeting of June 3rd, 2019?
I'll move it.
There's been a motion and second. All in favor? Aye. The journal is approved. Bills 24-19, 25-19, 26-19, 27-19, and 28-19 were passed by the council, signed by the executive, and are hereby enrolled. Mr. Secretary, we now read all bills for introduction.
Mr. Chair, Bill 32-19, entitled Maryland Summer Youth Connections. Bill 33-19, Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force. Bill 34-19, Final Historic Landmarks List. And Bill 35-19, sponsored by Mr. Catch, Zoning Regulations, Uses in Certain BM or BMCT Zones.
Council will now consider all bills for final reading and vote. Mr. Secretary, first bill, please.
Bill 31-19 is sponsored by Mrs. Bevins, entitled Zoning Regulations, Uses Permitted in the ML Zone, Car Washes.
Councilwoman Bevins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, Bill 3119, in essence, there's currently a very old motel that sits on Pulaski Highway / Route 40, and the family that currently owns it would like to change the use of the property, and they have someone interested. They call them Grease Monkey. It's kind of like our Jiffy Lubes, and they would also like to have a self-serve car wash attached to that, and this would allow them to do so. This is on a commercial corridor on Pulaski Highway, and I think it would be really good for the revitalization of Route 40. We're always looking for new businesses to come and kind of do away with the older motels that were there before 95 was put in, when everybody used to travel Route 40 to go north. So I hope that my colleagues will support this, and I know that there is an amendment, Mr. Boswick.
Yes.
Councilman Catch has put in an amendment.
Yes, ma'am.
I know we have two amendments. Why don't we do the amendments first, and then we'll do any questions or comments on the whole bill as amended, if that works for everyone.
Okay. The first amendment in your books is sponsored by Councilwoman Bevins, and this amendment would, the way the bill is written, it would result in car wash being permitted by special exception in two different paragraphs of that section dealing with the uses in the ML zone that are permitted by special exception. And because that would be kind of a cumbersome way to deal with the situation, what we've done is taken the car wash use out of paragraph B of section 253.2, which is the uses permitted in the ML zone by special exception, and we have moved it to subsection or subparagraph D, which is what the bill would have called for, and we have taken some of the language that was in subparagraph B2 for car washes and moved it into where this bill would put car washes. It's a technical amendment, but it also cleans things up in the regulations.
Did y'all get that?
And I can actually, it says car washes provided that any such uses shall be located in either a planned industrial park at least 25 acres in that area, in an IM or AS district, or a combination of an IM or AS district, and subject further to section 419, which is the specific car wash regulations in the zoning regs.
And are there any questions or comments from the members on this First Amendment for Councilwoman Bevins or for Mr. Tom Boswick? Everybody okay? All right, is there a motion to approve this First Amendment to Bill 31-19?
I'll move it.
Second. It's been a motion and second. Mr. Secretary, call the roll on this First Amendment to Bill 31-19, please.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
The amendment passes. Let's do the Second Amendment from Councilman Catch, Mr. Secretary.
Yes, the Second Amendment is kind of dovetails with the first in that it would not allow car washes in an AS district or a combination of an IM or AS district in the Hunt Valley Timonium Master Plan focus area or outside the urban-rural demarcation line or URDL.
And are there any questions or comments for Councilman Catch? Everybody good? All right, is there a motion to approve this Second Amendment to Bill 31-19?
So moved.
I'll second.
Been a motion and second. Mr. Secretary, please call a roll on the Second Amendment to Bill 31-19.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
The Second Amendment passes. Now let's go to any questions or comments on Bill 31-19 as amended. Are there any questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve Bill 31-19 as amended?
I'll move it.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Mr. Secretary, please call a roll on Bill 31-19 as amended.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Bill 31-19 as amended is passed.
Thank you.
We will now consider all fiscal matters. Extensive testimony was taken at the council's work session on June 25th, 2019. The witnesses who testified at the work session are available to restate their testimony if needed. If a council member has any questions regarding a particular fiscal matter, that item will be discussed as a separate matter. I will now call upon the Secretary to read the cover letter for fiscal matters 1 through 16. Fiscal matter 17 was withdrawn prior to the meeting, and fiscal matter 18 will be considered as a separate matter.
Fiscal matters 1 through 16. Fiscal matter 1 is an amendment to contract Siemens Industry Incorporated. Fiscal matter 2 is a contract with JBI Limited doing business as Justice Benefits Incorporated. Fiscal matter 3 is 4 contracts for rental of roll-off containers. Fiscal matter 4 is a contract with Austin Transfer and Processing LLC. Fiscal matter 5 is an amendment to 2 contracts for tree trimming and tree stump removal services. Fiscal matter 6 is a contract with Harford Tree Experts and Landscaping Incorporated. Fiscal matter 7 is a contract with Barco Enterprises Incorporated. Fiscal matter 8 is 2 contracts for on-call civil engineering site design services. Fiscal matter 9 is also 2 contracts for on-call civil engineering site design services. Fiscal matter 10 is 2 contracts for overhead door repair and replacement services. Fiscal matter 11 is with Lighting Maintenance Incorporated. Fiscal matter 12 is with Associated Catholic Charities doing business as family services. Fiscal matter 13 is a contract with Gaudenzia Incorporated. Fiscal matter 14 is an amendment number 2 to a contract with Community Solutions Incorporated. Fiscal matter 15 is a contract with Abilities Network Incorporated. Fiscal matter 16 is a contract with EcoFlow Incorporated.
And are there any questions or comments from the members for any of the fiscal matters 1 through 16?
Mr. Chair.
Councilman?
Yes, I'd like to make a comment about fiscal matter 13, the contract with Gaudenza. First, I want to thank Dr. Branch. Dr. Branch is here. I toured the site with Dr. Branch and County Executive Olszewski today to ensure that this is an appropriate direction for Baltimore County. And I will further say that during when you called for silent meditation, I took the time after touring the facility today to think and pray about the people who suffer through addiction. And so I think it's something that the county needs to address, and so I'm going to support it. There's one question. After we met Dr. Branch, I went and talked to some of the adjacent property owners and uses, and one of the concerns that came up was really a question for maybe Mr. Field, and it was, we have, I think, a contingency to discontinue the service with Gaudenza, which would be kind of a draconian thing if they did something that was not within the context of the contract. But one of the neighbors asked that we have could an item be added to the contract, which would be an interim period to just check in on safety procedures. Is that something that could be added at this point?
Seems a little late to do it. Maybe we could do some kind of side agreement or something like that. But
Okay. And it just, Dr. Branch, it's something perhaps if you're able to implement in a different way, it's something that the school nearby asked for. And I just want to, I'm going to support this, but I wanted to bring it to your attention. This is a matter that, every day we delay on this, it could mean someone's life and the destruction of a family. So I'm going to support it, but I wanted to bring that item to Mr. Field's attention and to Dr. Branch's attention.
Okay, any other questions or comments on fiscal matter 1 through 16? All right, hearing no other comments, is there a motion to approve fiscal matters 1 through 16?
I'll move it.
And is there a second? Okay, been a motion and a second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on fiscal matters 1 through 16.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Fiscal matters 1 through 16 are approved. Mr. Se- And Mr. Secretary, please read fiscal matter 18.
Fiscal Matter 18 is a contract with the Clearing Incorporated.
And I know we have Ms. Stacy Rogers here to testify. Good evening.
Good evening, Chairman Clerk and members of the council. On behalf of the county executive, I am requesting your consideration and approval of our county-wide strategic planning engagement initiative to be facilitated by a third-party reputable consultant, The Clearing, Inc., in the amount of $86,000. In my role as the CAO, one of my key priorities for which I'm responsible is the development and implementation of a countywide strategic plan. The county executive and I recognize the need for input from leaders across the government and from you as we develop and implement a countywide strategic plan. As I shared during the work session, this is a new endeavor for the county. I'm advised that the county has never had a comprehensive strategic plan that helps to align agencies' work to a vision and a strategic direction, mapping out our progress and priorities over a number of years. Enterprise-wide strategic plans lay the foundation for collective accountability, identifying performance metrics, and it ties it to strategic priorities. We all share the same vision to ensure our work is aligned to a broad vision for the county. The strategic planning endeavor is also one of the recommendations from the Commission on Fiscal Sustainability in their interim report, and their final report is forthcoming. Our work together with the assistance of an experienced facilitator like the Clearing will enable us to work together effectively to produce a quality document that will guide us over a course of years into the future. One of the benefits to engaging a neutral facilitative party is their ability to call out proverbial elephants in the room, to ask tough questions that we may not even think of because we are so close to the day-to-day work. And more importantly, to help the collective group to remain focused on the larger picture, the vision for the county as opposed to on individual respective areas. This is difficult to do from the inside. As many jurisdictions and agencies have discovered, this is difficult when you're trying to do it yourself and looking from the inside out. A neutral party has the ability to help guide and to direct or redirect as necessary. I shared a number of sample deliverables of the clearing's work and a partial list of their clients with projects similar to our project. For the past 10 years, the Clearing, Inc. has helped government, municipalities, state agencies, and private clients like the World Bank, the University of Chicago, and the University of Maryland School of Public Policy, Center for Global Sustainability, with change management, organizational culture, leadership development, and strategic planning endeavors. This effort is an investment in our critical enterprise-wide alignment of our priorities and resources. The result of this work will also assist us in better aligning our budget with agreed upon priorities and also our IT prioritizations over the course of years as opposed to year by year. For this reason, we request your support in this important work and ask for your approval of the clearings contract. We also look forward to your participation in the various activities of this work, as there will be a number of opportunities for your participation leading up to the proposed full-day session and after the draft plan is developed. One more note that I wanted to make with respect to this procurement. This proposed procurement was done through a competitively bid public procurement authority intergovernmental cooperative purchasing agreement, which is something that the entity had to bid and be available on a list. Utilizing this mechanism saved $11,000 toward this work. This work is expensive. However, it is an investment in the longer term work that we need to do to ensure that we come together with priorities, that we can hold ourselves accountable and watch our progress as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And are there any questions or comments from the council members on Fiscal Matter 18?
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Couch?
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, I read the supporting documentation that was sent, a great deal that dealt with Social Security.
Well, one of the deliverables did.
Did you work with them?
I did.
Okay. Now, can you explain your experience or how they helped improve the services that Social Security provides? And also, do you see this as a one-year investment, or will it be continuing? I know when I read it, I saw that as a result of the report, there were savings that were realized down the line because you're setting up a more efficient, effective system. And so if you would comment on those.
Sure. In my experience with the clearing at Social Security, we had a lot of disparate parts of the organization, very similar to the same kind of work they did with the Department of Transportation. And I have one visual that I want to show you on that too. But at Social Security, what we had to come to terms with was, okay, what direction did we need to go over a longer period of time? We were mandated by Congress to come up with a longer-term vision. But what it helped us to do during the period of time that I was there, which was a 6-year period, was to get everybody on the same page in terms of we've got a finite amount of resources. We've got a plethora of IT projects that impact the entire enterprise. But bringing people together with a bigger picture, identifying the focal areas, and in those documents you saw, it was customer service, it was definitely around the workforce, because it's an aging organization, it's 80 years old as an organization, 40 to 60% of employees were eligible at that time to retire. That was going to be an enterprise-wide issue. So then we took the priority areas and laid out strategic actions that the group agreed with. And it's hard to get 12, 14, 15 people on the same page to say, these are the things we're going to focus on, because when it comes down to resources, somebody's not going to be at the top. You know, down the road, that list of IT or budget priorities, somebody's going to be a little further down. But helping individuals in a collective leadership really look at the good of the whole. It's a concept of big hat versus little hat. And keeping on the big hat about the enterprise, how does this prioritization impact the overall goal where we're trying to go? And how do we prioritize our budget allocations? And how do we prioritize what IT project for the good of the whole should go first versus second, third, or fourth? So that's how we used that vision document. And they're still using the vision document through a change in administration. It's still guiding them because it's Vision 2025, and they're still working from that plan, even though leaders have changed and, you know, there's career staff there, but they're still using that document to guide them. The other most profound example, I would say, if Savitra would help, it has to do with the Maryland Department of Transportation. They have 6 or 7 disparate, different pieces, but it's all about transportation. But how did they bring all of their pieces of their organization together? And in your packet, there was a handout that showed here's their organization-wide focus. They had like 4 focal areas as well. And then under each of those areas, whether it was MVA or Port Authority or whatever it was, what is the work that you're doing to, one of theirs was to reduce congestion. Everybody, MVA, MTA, Port Authority, however the work that they do played out. The other one was about their workforce, aging workforce. So everybody lined up behind it, and the other one for one of theirs was infrastructure. So that's what this work helps us to do. But you have to have all of the parties at the table, and it's hard to do that from the inside. It's important work, but once you get the plan, then you hold yourselves accountable with the plan. And this is every organization or government entity that I've worked in throughout my career. For some reason, I've been slated with the strategic planning work, which I enjoy because it does, at the end of the day, you can look back and see the work and what you've collectively accomplished.
With the Department of Transportation, there was an initial report, and then were there subsequent reports, or I'm sure it's a much larger.
Right. They still have pieces of their work, and the subdivisions of the Port Authority, motor vehicles, they branched off to do individual work with the clearing or others to home in on what they needed. If they needed succession planning work in one part of the organization. So that's why we said we didn't know what additional work would look like at this point. What I'm striving for is to get that base strategic plan that we all have, the enterprise-wide strategic plan, so that we can align our budget work and align our IT prioritization work and see where it goes from there. But it's something that I have found in organizations, if you have a plan and everybody can see their work in that plan, then you have more accountability, and you can look back and see what you said you were going to do and what you did.
Yeah, and when I think of the Maryland Department of Transportation, I do know in regard to bridges, road repairs, et cetera, they have a very good list of priority. They know what the needs are, and I think the county will benefit greatly by this, and I'm hoping that, I call it one-stop shopping, that constituent calls with an issue, that there'll be a chain of events that will automatically happen in order to resolve whatever the issue is. So, and of course, using paper is hopefully, we're going to reduce that, and you know, IT can help with that and streamline things. So I think it's good.
Right. But in Social Security, that was one of theirs as well, excellence in customer service. How do we prepare ourselves over time to have better customer service response? That was one of their guiding factors that all of the parts of the organization in the 10 regions had to come to terms with.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Councilman Marks?
Thank you. About 13 years ago, I was Chief of Staff at the Maryland Department of Transportation. I think this was before they did a lot of this work, but about 20 years ago, I was involved with the Government Performance Results Act at the U.S. Department of Transportation. I suspect we were doing the same things in different agencies. But my point is that this sort of exercise is done everywhere. I mean, throughout various levels of government. It really gained steam under President Clinton with the Reinventing Government initiative. It is expensive. I wish it wasn't so expensive, but I think the tools can be very helpful.
Any other questions or comments from the council? All right, I will move fiscal matter 18. Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion and second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on fiscal matter 18. Aye.
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
No.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Fiscal matter 18 is passed. Thank you, Ms. Rogers. We will now consider miscellaneous business. Mr. Secretary, first item, please.
Mr. Chair, whenever a contract over $25,000 is awarded by a process other than formal competitive bid, it is required that a copy of the contract be given to the County Council and the nature and parties to that contract be announced by the Secretary at the next legislative session following the award of the contract. There are 6 such contracts this evening. One with Baltimore Gas and Electric Company doing business as BGE, $177,364. Train U.S. Incorporated doing business as Baltimore Train, $38,773. Sherwood Logan and Associates Incorporated, $29,629. Incident Communication Solutions, LLC doing business as Peak Communications, $38,940. Thermoelectron North America, LLC, $75,000. And Clark Machine Corporation, $31,962.
And Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next is Resolution 72-19, authorization to accept donation, Maryland Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services, 911 Center.
And I think we have Ms. Tammy Price here to testify. And good evening, Ms. Price.
Good evening, Chairman, council members. The administration is seeking approval for Resolution 72-19 to authorize the county to accept a donation of up to $110,190 from the Maryland Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services Emergencies Number Systems Board for various training programs and public education materials for the 911 Center. Of these funds, up to $107,690 are being provided for training for medical, police, and fire protocols, along with emergency telecommunication training, quality assurance training, and other certification and recertification programs. These are programs that are required or recommended by the state. The remaining balance of $2,500 be used for public education materials that we use for community events and such to educate on basic 911 functions.
And are there any questions or comments for Ms. Price from the council? All right. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 72-19? And I'll second it. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 72-19.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall? Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Resolution 72-19 is passed. Thank you, Ms. Price.
Thank
And
you.
Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Resolution 73-19 is sponsored by Councilman Marks. This resolution is entitled Planning Board Conversion of Commercial Space Condominium Apartment-Style Buildings.
Councilman Marks.
Thank you. You may recall that a few months ago, we heard testimony about the impact of converting several commercially used floors of a high-rise building in downtown Towson into residential units such as dormitories. This resolution simply asks the Planning Board to examine this issue, look at practices in other jurisdictions, and will report back to the County Council by November 1st.
And are there any questions or comments from the council for Councilman Marks? Is there a motion to approve Resolution 73-19?
So moved.
Second.
The motion and second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 73-19.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Resolution 73-19 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Resolution 74-19 is also sponsored by Councilman Marks, entitled Baltimore County Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee Expanding Bicycle Parking Requirements.
Councilman Marks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Right now, there are only a few areas in Baltimore County where there's required bicycle parking. For example, the new construction that has occurred in downtown Towson must have dedicated parking for bicycles. This resolution directs the Baltimore County Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee to study whether that mandate should be expanded within the urban-rural demarcation line. Again, only a study, no legislative changes.
Any questions or comments from the council for Councilman Marks? I would just say that I'm very encouraged with the new county executive and some of the attention now that this issue is receiving, and excited about it as well. So I appreciate your work there.
I would agree.
And is there a motion to approve Resolution 74-19?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 74-19.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Resolution 74-19 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Resolution 75-19 is sponsored by Councilman Patoka. This is a request for refund from Mitchell Anderson of property taxes previously paid due to his status as a disabled veteran.
Mr. Fowler, I move this motion forward.
Second.
The motion is second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 75-19.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Marks? Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Resolution 75-19 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Resolution 76-19 is sponsored by Councilwoman Bevins. This is a resolution requesting a refund or authorizing the refund of property taxes paid by Harold Payne, who is entitled to a refund as a result of being a disabled veteran under state law.
It's my honor to move it.
Second.
Been a motion and second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 76-19.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Resolution 76-19 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
I think that was 77, wasn't it?
77-19.
Sorry. That was 77?
Yeah, we're doing 77-19.
Mr. Secretary,
Sorry
we're moving
about
too
that.
quickly for you.
Sorry about that. 76,
Now we're on 77-19.
right, I saw Mr. Patoka, then Mr. Patoka again, so forgive me. Resolution 76-19 is sponsored by Mr.
77-19.
I'm sorry, 77-19 is sponsored by Mr. Patoka, and this is a property tax exemption in the name of Robert Schenk, who is entitled to a refund under state law as being a disabled veteran.
Well, I'm going to move this motion forward, but Mr. Secretary, I wanted to thank you for that comment about my speed. You saw Mr. Patoka, then you saw him again. I haven't really been had any compliments about my speed in many, many years. But thank you.
I am not commenting.
But it is with honor I move this motion forward.
And I'll second it.
I don't know if I would have seconded it.
Ooh, all righty. So there's been a motion and second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 77-19.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Resolution 77-19 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Resolution 78-19 is sponsored by Councilman Jones. This is a request for a refund in the name of Eric C. Brown, who is entitled to a refund of property taxes paid as a result of his status as a disabled veteran under state law.
And I'll move it.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 78-19.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Resolution 78-19 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Resolution 79-19 is sponsored by Councilman Marks. This is a refund authorizing, a resolution authorizing the refund of property taxes paid by Roy H. Bartholomew, who is entitled to a refund under state law as a disabled veteran.
It's my honor to move this.
Second.
It's been a motion and second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 79-19.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Resolution 79-19 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next is your consideration of the nomination by the county executive of Mr. Edward Blades to be the next director of the Office of Budget and Finance.
And Mr. Blades, I understand you have some prepared remarks.
As a matter of fact, I do, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the County Council. Thank you for having me. For over 2 decades, I've been working in the Office of Budget and Finance for Baltimore County. To say I take the department's mission to heart would be an understatement. If appointed to the role of director, I will make it my personal mission to ensure this department is accountable, effective, and transparent. Being named Director of Budget and Finance is a great responsibility and one I do not take lightly, as my most important job is to serve the residents of Baltimore County. I would like to take a moment to introduce my parents, Jane and Ed Blades. If you could wave. It's with their support and a lot of patience that this is possible.
That's nice.
I want to thank you for this opportunity and thank you to the county executive for his faith in me. Thank you.
Excellent. Are there any questions or comments for Mr. Blades from the council? Councilwoman Bevins.
I have a comment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've said it before that I've known Mr. Blades since about 2004, and I got to know him on a personal level before a business level because at some point, and maybe Mr. Bostwick can help me with this, I was chairing the March of Dimes for Baltimore County. I was in charge of raising the money, and we did a fine job. We came in first place. And Ed came to me and he said, I have twins, and they were both born premature, and what can I do to help? And that spoke to me way back then, what kind of man you were, Ed. And you've always been helpful ever since, and I'm really, really proud of you. Under the conditions that you've worked for the last decade in Office of Budget and Finance. And, you know, it takes a strong person, you know, to hold down the fort of that job, and you've done a tremendous job. I know your family should be very, very proud of you, and I'm excited to work with you. So congratulations.
Councilman Crandall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ed, it's no fair bringing your parents in. How are we going to vote against you with your parents sitting in the audience?
That was part of my strategy.
Well played. Ed, just thank you for your dedicated service to the citizens of Baltimore County, and you're about to be confirmed, and I'm proud yes vote for you. So congratulations.
Councilman Marks.
So earlier today, I heard the county executive refer to the county council as a co-equal branch of government.
I heard that.
And that was the most wonderful thing to hear from the county executive. We have not heard that in a while. But you have always treated us like that. You have always gotten us information. You've been courteous, responsive, and we have all expectations that this will continue in the future. So congratulations.
Any other questions or comments? Councilman Patoka.
Just want to congratulate Mr. Blades. I think you've done an excellent job over the years for Baltimore County in lots of different ways. So congratulations. I look forward to working with you for the next 3.5 years.
Yes, and let me just add that it's been a good experience and an honor to work with you since, what, the 1990s, wasn't it? What year was it you were in Annapolis?
1992.
1992, so
He had brown hair.
27,
And a lot skinnier.
1992. Wow, okay, very good.
1992. Wow.
And, Mr. Blades, it's very seldom, as we talked about earlier, that we get strong bipartisan consensus on anything. And it's really just nice and really just to have just such strong consensus from the whole council for your appointment to be the permanent director for Office of Budget and Finance. You're a great number cruncher. I don't know if math was kind of your thing you studied for your whole life, but we definitely rely a lot on your expertise. And, if you say there's a structural deficit, we definitely believe that. And really helping through that whole process of really trying to really tackle this enormous issue that we all knew we had to tackle. That was not easy. So we do appreciate your leadership and your expertise there. And so that is my honor to move your appointment.
Second.
It's been a motion and there's a second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the appointment.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
And the appointment is now confirmed. Congratulations, Director.
Oh, did you finally get a pen?
What is it? A pen.
Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next, Mr. Chair, is Resolution 80-19. This is a resolution to expand the residential permit parking area E in the Padonia Road area. This is for introduction only this evening.
And Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Resolution 81-19 is sponsored by Council Members Marks and Bevins. This is a resolution in opposition to a wastewater discharge permit of the Mountain Christian Church. This is also for introduction only this evening.
Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Resolution 82-19 is sponsored by Council Members Marks, Catch, and Crandall. This is a resolution recommending the creation of a regional water/sewer management authority, also for introduction only this evening.
And Mr. Secretary, is there any farther business to come before the council?
There is no further business, Mr. Chair.
And is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll move it.
Second.
Been a motion, second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. As is customary, anyone who signed up prior to the meeting with the secretary is allowed up to 3 minutes to speak. Mr. Secretary, are there any speakers signed up for this evening?
There are 8 speakers signed up, Mr. Chair.
All righty, so what I'll do is I'll call the first speaker, then the second speaker, and the first speaker can come right on up to the microphone, and then the second speaker, if they want to just sit right in the chamber close to Jamie. All righty, so our first speaker, Carla Johnson, followed by Elizabeth Brown. And good evening, Ms. Johnson.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
This chair is heavier than I am. Good evening. My name is Carla Johnson. I live in Parkville within Councilwoman Bevins' district. I'm here to continue a conversation about domestic crimes that I initiated at the Public Safety Forum in Timonium. 9,546. According to the Maryland State Police Uniform Crime Report, 9,546 represents the number of domestic crimes reported in Baltimore County alone in 2017. That is approximately 29% of all domestically related crimes in Maryland. 9,546 ranks us first in domestic crimes, a ranking Baltimore County held for 9 of 10 years between 2008 and 2017. This staggering number represents an approximate 47% increase since 2013, a critical benchmark. Reporting from 2013 forward reflects an expanded definition of domestic crimes. The executive table and the Baltimore County Index Crimes by Precinct report do not indicate which crimes have been classified as domestically related. Therefore, I cannot tell you which communities, precincts, or councilmanic districts are struggling with or at risk of domestic crime. Unlike websites such as the House of Ruth or GBMC, the resource pages Baltimore County provides for victims of domestic violence do not have a quick exit key. Such a key enables victims to leave the website should their abuser enter the room. Finally, a Baltimore County Domestic Council is referenced on the Baltimore County website, but I cannot locate anything about them online. Is there any work group or task force examining the number of domestic crimes in our county, given the upward trend and staggering number of 9,546? I'd like to do whatever I can or find out what we can do for three things. One, specify crimes as domestically related on the Baltimore County website. Two, provide victims with a quick exit key on the Baltimore County website. And three, determine how numbers are being used. Require accountability of departments, work groups, or a task force if those indeed exist. I thank you for this opportunity to bringing this to your attention this evening.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you for coming in.
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
if I may.
Councilman Crandall?
Ms. Johnson, just so I'm clear, what is your definition of domestic crime? Is this? I'll stop there. Go ahead.
Sure. I unfortunately did have a computer problem this afternoon, so the additional materials that I would have had with me and would have offered to all of you, I don't have handy. But my intention is to get those to you tomorrow, either electronically or drop them off. But it's pulled from the Maryland State Police Uniform Crime Report, and I don't know the exact, it's dependent upon the relationship the victim has with the perpetrator. And it was that definition of relationships was expanded. Originally it was more traditional relationships, married couples, spouses, people that had children in common. So it's somebody with a relationship through marriage or children that commit a crime against one another.
Okay, and these crimes are primarily physical or sexual?
They range.
Or could it be theft? Or
right.
That would be characterized as well? So if someone has an addiction problem and they steal something that they can go sell, that would be a domestic crime
Correct.
as well?
It could be theft. It could be aggravated assault. And my understanding, it could also be child abuse.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for coming in.
All right, our next speaker is Elizabeth Brown, followed by Rico Dancy. And good evening.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Brown, and I live in Towson in Council District 6, where I'm ably represented by Councilwoman Kathy Bevins. I would like to talk about legislation passed, I think it was last month, which dealt with the issue of so-called impact fees for developers. Like many, many people in the county, I'm very much in favor of impact fees, and I think that developers need to pay their fair share, so I was following the bill. I knew there were some differing ideas on how to implement impact fees, so I was happy to hear that there was a good compromise between two different bills. However, I was shocked to read in the Sun that the bill ended up including a lot of delays, reduced charges, and exemptions, which were added through an amendment that was introduced and voted on in the same session in which the bill was passed. Of course, compromise is fine and it's expected, and I understand that developers wouldn't necessarily want to pay an additional fee and would want to lobby for a better deal for themselves. That's fine and part of the process, but to significantly alter the bill seemingly at the last minute without county residents having the chance to know about, much less give input on the changes, is not ideal. This case just happens to be a bit of a hot potato, I think, where is a widespread perception, whether it's correct or not, that developers have a lot of influence in the county. And of course, right after council passed a transparency reform package of laws, the way this amendment was made, while I'm certain that it was proper and within the rules, is just not what I would call good optics. And so I'm asking today that the council consider ways or procedures to conduct its business that will afford county residents the ability to review and give feedback on bills in their final forms, even budget-related bills that might have a stricter timeline. I think council members would certainly want to make sure that they're keeping their constituents appropriately informed. And in fact, I will be following up with the chair to initiate a meeting with me and other concerned citizens to see if we can find some common ground on this issue. I'm sure there are solutions available. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms.
Elizabeth.
Brown. Our next speaker is Rico Dancy, followed by Karen Green.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rico Dancy. I'm the president of the Black Lives Matter for the Deaf. And I want to talk about the situation in jails and only having a TTYs and not video phones for prisoners and for inmates. I'm living in District 5. And when I called to request a video phone meeting, she laughed. She laughed at me. I think she thought I was deaf and dumb, that I was deaf and didn't know any better. And so that is not acceptable. It's not acceptable to me. I'm deaf. I'm proud to be deaf. It's who I am. I'm not deaf and dumb. I'm proud to be deaf. So I really didn't appreciate her treatment of me that way. When I called to place a request for an interpreter, the interpreter that was interpreting for me really gave me these facial expressions of what she could hear. And I have to tell you that it's just not acceptable to me at all. I'm proud to be deaf. And, it's not appropriate for her to label and to treat me that way. So please educate those that are working in your offices, those that you work with, not to say, oh, I'm so sorry that you're deaf. Oh, I'm so sorry for that, and to make excuses. And certainly not to use deaf and dumb and to laugh when someone is calling you. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And my job is to get you all to educate your staff and the folks that you're working, to educate folks to not say deaf and dumb. It is unacceptable, ever. It's unacceptable. Or deaf mute. It's unacceptable. And it's really up to you to educate the folks that you're working with, your staff. It's not my responsibility to educate all of them. It is your responsibility to make that clear. So please make sure that folks are not using offensive terminology to their constituents. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Councilman Marks?
Just for the record, my staff would dispute that. And my staff would also say that there was some belligerence on the other end. Having said that, I believe that the council staff has tried to accommodate this gentleman.
No, I called for interpreting services.
I would like to finish. I believe that my staff has tried to accommodate this gentleman, and we certainly will continue to do so. Mr. Boswick, is that correct?
No, the interpreter told me. I called through Purple, and the interpreter told me. The interpreter told me what they said. And the interpreter is certified. They're not lying. The interpreter told me. That's what they said was said. I was shocked.
I had asked Mr. Boswick. Mr. Boswick. Thank you.
Mr. Boswick?
We can go back and forth, I guess, with Mr. Dancy, but no one to my knowledge, on the staff of the county council has treated this gentleman with anything but respect. In fact, when he called...
Please listen.
When he called...
Please let Mr. Boswick...
When I'm using video relay,
When he called...
the interpreter.
And requested an interpreter and came up to our reception area, we accommodated him. We hired an interpreter, I think, in fact, 2 interpreters for this evening's meeting. So we are accommodating.
And we will continue to accommodate.
No, let me explain. Let me explain clearly so you can understand my voice.
I use VRS, video relay interpreter. The interpreter says, "Don't understand. This is deaf and dumb person on the phone. I'm not deaf and dumb. I'm just deaf. I'm proud of who I am. My family is completely deaf. We are not dumb. We are human beings like everybody else. Please, education y'all open to not to use that kind of word to us. We are human beings like y'all. We just can't hear. Please, my job is to educate those people who do not live in the deaf world like I am. I live in 2 worlds. Deaf world, hearing world. I'm completely deaf. Please, we need to educate these staff how to not to use the word deaf and dumb. That's what they said to me. The interpreter will not lie who is certified. Please, educate your staff. This is outrageous. When they say deaf and dumb person, laugh in my face. The interpreter said that, it was angry to me. Please, educate your staff to not to use that word. That is the offensive word to us. We are a deaf community. We deserve respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dancy. All right, our next speaker for the evening is Karen Green, followed by Sheila Ruth. And good evening, Ms. Green.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. I'm a resident of Mount Washington, the Baltimore County part of Mount Washington, Pikesville area. I'm in District 2, Izzy Patoka's division. And I live in a condominium complex, and I've been a homeowner there for 30 years. The last 10 years have been pretty awful, but the last 5 have been just out of control, where there's egregious behavior with our board of directors, with a very inept management company that's looking the other way, and at this point enabling them. The financial stability of my community is in jeopardy. I have literally for 3 years worked on this and reached out to whoever I can, which is how I met Mr. Patoka. But what I am proposing is that Baltimore County form a commission for common ownership communities. And such a commission does exist in Prince George's County, and it does exist in Montgomery County. And I have recently met Delegate Marvin Holmes of Prince George's County. He happens to be one of the main legislators for the state of Maryland, who works on a lot of legislation for condominium associations and homeowner associations and such. And Delegate Holmes has developed the commissions in Prince George's County and Montgomery County, and he is currently assisting Anne Arundel County. And he has offered his assistance, if it should get passed, he is offering his assistance to Baltimore County as well, that he would assist the formation of that. He also, I met with him a few weeks ago, he also said if you'd like to have a special meeting, he'd be happy to attend and discuss further with you. I have his contact information. Somewhat of a similar, another problem is that in this whole ordeal, at some point I reached out to Baltimore County Code Enforcement because a lot of my community is not being kept up properly. And I found out that Baltimore County Code Enforcement will not involve themselves in condominium complexes, and they explained to me why. They explained that they need someone to cite, and that if it's not corrected in a certain amount of time, that a fine would be issued, and that's normally to the homeowner. And in condominium complexes, and one such as myself, we have 241 owners, and they're not going to cite 241 people or fine 241 people. So therefore, my understanding is they will not involve themselves at all in condominium complexes. I don't think that's the case, especially in Prince George's County.
If you'd like to conclude your...
Well, the last point in that is that my suggestion is that possibly code enforcement could cite the management company on record and hold them responsible. And in my instance, the management company is non-existent. They don't come on our property. They let the board do whatever they want. The board is not acting appropriately at this point. We're in a beautiful neighborhood. We have rental property on one side, townhouses on the other side, and single-family homes across the street. They are all kept in pristine condition, and you turn the corner into my complex, and I don't know where you think you are.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your time this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Our next speaker is Sheila Ruth, followed by Sachin Hebar. Good evening.
Good evening, Chairman Quirk and members of the County Council. For the record, my name is Sheila Ruth, and I'm a resident of District 1. First, I want to make it clear that this is not about the developer impact fees bill. I've been a supporter of developers paying their fair share to mitigate the impact, and I'm happy that we finally have a path towards that, even if the delay in implementation and increased exemptions are disappointing. My concern, however, is the process by which the final bill was passed, and more largely with transparency and citizens' engagement in Baltimore County's bill process. Bill 16-19 was amended by a 6-to-1 vote of the County Council on May 23rd. The amended bill was then immediately voted on by the Council and passed 5-2. The public had no opportunity to see and comment on the amendment prior to the Council vote on the entire bill. This bill was a particularly egregious example because almost the entire bill was stricken by the amendment and replaced with new language, making it essentially a new bill that the Council voted on with no public input. However, voting on amendments and then voting on the amended bill right away is common practice in Baltimore County. In these cases, the public is generally denied the opportunity to see the amendments and comment on them before the bill is passed. I request that the Council amend your procedures to allow time for public input when a bill is amended. Thanks to Bill 15-18, passed by the Council last year and supported by the voters on the 2018 ballot, the amount of time for passage of a bill was increased from 40 to 65 days. This should allow plenty of time for additional public input after a bill is amended. In most cases, there's no need to pass the bill in the same session as the amendments. It would also be helpful whenever possible, and I know it's not always possible, but whenever possible, if council members could post their proposed amendments online for viewing in advance. I also realize that in this case, the council was attempting to pass Bill 16-19 at the same time as the budget, which has a strictly defined timeline for passage. However, since the amended bill doesn't take effect until July 1st, 2020, and will have no impact on the FY20 budget, I believe that voting on it could have been delayed to allow more time for public consideration of the massively amended bill. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Katch?
Yeah, I had put in legislation to lengthen the amount of time that we can consider a bill. Was very happy when the Code Revision Committee recommended 65 days. But one of the things the council must adopt procedures in order to take advantage of extending it from 40 to 65 days. So in the I don't know in the case of the impact fees, because of the budget situation, I don't know if we could have delayed it. But one thing we could do is we could move to special order a bill into the next voting session, which would give the people a chance to give their input. So
That would be great.
yeah, so I've talked to Mr. Bostwick about possibly doing something like that to change our rules so that we can take advantage of the 65 days. So I thank you.
Thank you so much.
Councilman Patoka?
Thank you, Ms. Ruth, for sharing that information. And, this is not the first time we've heard it. We've heard it from a speaker earlier. I read about this before I was a council member about the process. And I didn't know, earlier tonight we heard about the clearings where a new organization that is not already ingrained in Baltimore County takes a fresh look at the processes of how we move bills. Well, in this case, how we move a bill, but in Ms. Rogers' case, she's looking at the broader picture. But I didn't know, Ms. Rogers, this is something the clearings would look at, and for council, because this is something we've heard in the past, at least I've read about, and we've heard several times tonight. I know Councilman Koch alluded to this council actually changing our procedures, and I didn't know what the pathway to kind of address this situation is. And I would ask my colleagues or Ms. Rogers, what is the pathway to kind of look at this, or the secretary? Is it, yeah, Mr. Bostwick?
I think it is something that we have been looking at, and if you recall, you have a draft of rules of procedure to account for the extension from 40 days to 65 days. So I think that the short answer is we're working on it, and I think it's just a matter of the council considering it and deciding collectively when the appropriate time is to introduce it.
Councilman Marks?
I will echo all those comments and agree that we should be making the codification of those procedures a priority this summer. We can always do a better job. I think we've made improvements. I think the televising of the work sessions is great. I think all of us here engage our constituents on Facebook a lot, and but we can always make improvements. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Our next speaker, Sachin Hebar, followed by Adam Reuter. Good evening.
Good evening. Dear members of the Baltimore County Council, I want to thank you for Resolution 74-19, and I specifically want to thank Councilman David Marks. When we design a city for biking and walking, we make streets safer for everyone. Bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure decreases crashes for all road users. It calms traffic, which reduces speed. It makes crossing distances shorter for pedestrians, which makes it safer to cross the street. And a city that has increased bike ridership has reduced traffic congestion, improved air quality, and improved public health with lower rates of asthma and such. So, as a member of the Baltimore County Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee, I'm looking forward to examining the feasibility of expanding the bicycle parking requirements and also looking at and reporting the feasibility to County Council by the date set by the resolution. I want to say one thing. The Pedestrian Bicycle Advisory Committee is a bit short-handed. There are a couple of vacancies, and I would encourage the County Council to make sure that the vacancies are full. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. Yeah, one of the problems is, Chris, in our district, the hike-bike trail, because there's inadequate parking for that, because that's a state trail. So we need to work with our state representatives to get more parking, because you know what a nightmare it is, especially in Moncton. So that's something we need to work on.
Sure, thank you. And we are going to be with you, and to make sure that those things are taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sash.
Our next speaker is Adam Reuter, and then followed by Cheryl
Thank you, sir.
Gottlieb. Good evening.
Hello, my name is Adam Reuter, and I am the founder of the Baltimore County Government Accountability Project. Today I'm here to speak on a bill proposal. Equality and liberty under law is the foundation of a government of free people. It's the writing on the wall right behind you. In 3 days, most Americans will celebrate the founding of this country and the freedoms that it affords every person that steps on its soil. I propose that this holiday be honored by making Baltimore County a civil rights sanctuary. On December 3rd, 2018, you took an oath to support the Constitution. Federal law, Title 18, USC Section 242, and Title 42, USC 1983 mandates that you do not deprive American citizens of their rights, creating a law that protects Baltimore County residents and visitors from unconstitutional state and federal laws is not only the morally correct thing to do, it is the legally correct thing to do. Honor and respect the wishes of George Washington, Alexander Hamilton, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, and the rest of this nation's founding fathers by honoring military servicemen and women's sacrifices along with the wishes of at least 3/4 of the states for each U.S. Constitution amendment throughout the course of this nation's history. You will make Baltimore County a great place to be. People will want to live in this area, people will want to visit this area, and it will perhaps be the freest plot of land in the entire United States of America. On another note, I propose a moratorium on residential development. A large number of constituents testified during the county executive's town hall meetings that were held earlier this year about overcrowded schools, terrible road surfaces, and increased automobile traffic throughout the county. Adding more people to an already stressed situation is morally wrong until the aforementioned problems are corrected, in my humble opinion. Finally, please respect constituents' First Amendment rights on social media. Do not block them, do not hide their comments, or make them feel unwelcome. Social media is a public forum / town square as defined by the Supreme Court. Otherwise, you are breaking the law. President Donald Trump, Governor Larry Hogan, and Phyllis Randall of Loudoun County, Virginia found out the hard way. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And our last speaker for the evening is Cheryl Gottlieb. Good evening.
I have my remarks on my phone. Hi, my name is Cheryl Gottlieb, and I'm a resident of Council District 5. I'm here because I'm disappointed in the recent conduct of the council. This winter, citizens across the county were made aware that our county is in a financial crisis. There are many citizens that are deeply invested in our communities, myself included, and I think the fact that I'm the third person to come up and speak about this issue tonight is a testament to that fact. We really want to see Baltimore County thrive. Passing substantial amendments to bills which are voted on just hours later, which then doesn't allow for citizen input, and awarding no-bid contracts, which also then don't allow for citizen input, harms the well-being of Baltimore County and doesn't allow us to move forward. I'm here to remind you that you work for us, and we're watching you. The way the council previously ran is unacceptable, and I'm putting you on notice that if things don't change, we'll invest all of our blood, sweat, and tears into voting you out. Do better. Thank you.
Ms. Gottlieb, thank you for coming. Can I ask you, did you testify on the impact fee bill that I introduced?
No, I did not. Another issue, that's a major issue as far as citizen input, is hosting all your meetings at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I work in Baltimore City. Most people work during the day and can't come to testify.
Well, I agreed the meeting should be moved, but did you send in written comments at all on the bill?
Well, I mean, like I said, I wasn't really able to because of the changes that were then voted on 3 hours later.
We had a lot of people who did send in testimony and commented on the bill, and that's always an avenue available to you. You can always email me. You can email a member of this council. But I do want to thank you for your testimony.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate all the speakers as well. And I just wanted to close wishing everybody a very happy 4th of July. And please have a safe drive home. Thanks so much for coming out.